Hello everyone, welcome back to Coach Craig Sports. Today is Saturday. We're going to be doing starts and sits for all the 15 remaining matchups for this week. This is week 14. For most leagues, it is the first week of the playoffs, so we're going to be going through each team, talking about starts and sits for each team. But without further ado, we'll get started. First off, you got the Bears and the Texans. On the Bears side, we got Mitchell Trubisky. He's kind of like a borderline streamer quarterback. The Texans defense isn't very good. Like I've said many times, I'm a Texans fan myself, so I will be the first one to admit our defense is not very good. David Montgomery is a solid start. Allen Robinson's a solid start as well. Darnell Mooney, Anthony Miller, they're both going to be sits for me. Mooney's been dealing with some personal things and hasn't practiced this week, but he still is expected to play. We got Jimmy Graham, Cole Kmet. Jimmy Graham's definitely a sit. Cole Kmet is kind of like a streamable tight end if you need to. Definitely somebody to pick up and stash for the rest of the year. Bears defense is going to be a sit. Deshaun Watson and company have been rolling lately. Bears defense hasn't looked as good in recent weeks. And then on the Texans side, we got Deshaun Watson. He's going to be a start. David Johnson was on the COVID list, so he's going to be a sit. Duke Johnson's kind of like a low-end running back 2, flex play, mainly in PPR leagues. Should have a pretty decent day, though. Brandon Cooks is questionable. He's been dealing with kind of like a neck and a foot injury, I believe. So let's see if he ends up playing. Obviously, if he plays, you can start him. If he doesn't play, obviously, you sit him. Kiki QT, Chad Hansen, there are a couple other options. Not too keen on starting either one of them at this point in time. But there is some upside there as well if you need to start one of them. Texans tight ends, I'm avoiding once again. Texans defense is going to be a sit as well. Then we got the Bengals and the Cowboys. We got Brandon Allen, and he's going to be a sit. Joe Mixon's still on IR, so obviously he's a sit. He should be on your IR if you don't already have him there. Gio Bernard, this is actually a decent game for him. I think he'll be a solid running back 2 this week, so you can start him, especially in PPR formats. AJ Green's going to be a sit. T. Higgins has been dealing with a little bit of a hamstring injury, but he is expected to play. You could probably start him if you need to, since it is the Cowboys defense. But if you have a better option, just go with your better option. Same thing with Tyler Boyd. Start him if you need to, but if you have a better option, just go with your better option. Bengals defense is going to be a sit. Andy Dalton is actually a streamable quarterback in this matchup. Very good matchup for him. Pretty much like Mitchell Trubisky. If you got somebody better than him, just play your better option. But if you don't have a better option, you can roll with him. If you got these guys in 2 quarterback leagues, you can definitely start them. Ezekiel Elliott is dealing with a calf issue, but he's expected to play once again. So you can start him. Running back 2 territory. Should be a pretty good game for him as the Bengals defense is not very good. And honestly, for the Cowboys receivers, they're pretty startable this week. 1 or 2 of them at least should have a good game. Amari Cooper's been pretty solid this year. Michael Gallup had the good game last week, so you would probably start both of them. CeeDee Lamb, he's kind of like a borderline guy. If you got a better option, just play your better option. If you don't, you can play him, especially in like a PPR league. And then Dalton Schultz, the tight end, he's a start for me, a pretty solid tight end 1 this week going against the Bengals, who have been awful against tight end overall. And the Cowboys defense, as pretty as they haven't been this year, they are a streamable defense this week against the Bengals, who are very beat up on offense, quarterback, running back, offensive line. Should be a good matchup for them. Then we got the Chiefs and the Dolphins. Chiefs side's pretty standard, honestly. You got Patrick Mahomes must start. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he was active last week. He didn't play at all due to the illness that he had. He should be back, should be fine this week. He's the guy you can start in this matchup. Le'Veon Bell's going to be a sit. Tyreek Hill's a start. Sammy Watkins is going to be a sit. Travis Kelce is a start as well. Chiefs defense is a streamable defense this week as well. Like I said before, I'm not a believer in Tua. I don't think he's as good as people make him out to be. And he beat up on a bad defense in the Bengals last week. If you play a Chiefs defense when you're trailing, they're going to be sending the blitz at him pretty much all day. So he's going to be under pressure. So that Chiefs defense is definitely one to consider. Then we got Tua Tagovailoa. He's an obvious sit for me. The Dolphins running backs, you can start Myles Gaskin. Salvin Ahmed is going to be out again this week with his shoulder injury. DeAndre Washington looks like he's going to be back. He practiced in full on Friday. And then Matt Breida is not expected back from the COVID list yet. So Gaskin has a pretty safe role. Solid running back 2 there. Then we got Devontae Parker. Honestly, he's like a wide receiver 3 flex play. If you got somebody better than him, just play him. If you don't, then you can roll Parker out there. But with Tua, he hasn't done quite as well. Jakeem Grant is going to be a sit. Mike Gesicki is a sit for me as well. Dolphins defense is obviously a sit against the Chiefs' high-powered offense. Then we got the Cardinals and the Giants. And on the Giants side, we got Daniel Jones. He's been dealing with that hamstring injury. Looks like he's going to play in this game. I am not playing him unless I'm in a 2-quarterback league or a super flex league. So otherwise, he's going to be a sit for me. Wayne Gallman, he's a solid start, running back 2 in this matchup. Then these wide receivers, They're tough. Sterling Shepard, I think you can start kind of wide receiver 3, flex play if you need to. Slayton probably could be the same way, honestly. Golden Tate's going to be a sit. Evan Ingram, I think you can start. Should be a tight end 1 this week. The Giants DST, they're actually one that I kind of liked as a streamable defense this week. Kyler Murray hasn't been quite as good lately. So if they're able to limit him, especially in that rushing upside, they could have a decent day. Kyler Murray, he actually was my sit of the week once again. He just hasn't been running as much. I know he got some garbage time points that really helped him out last week, but this Giants defense really is playing well. Then we got Kenyon Drake. He is a solid running back 2 for me. Chase Edmonds, he's kind of like a borderline guy, a flex play if you need to throw somebody out there, especially in PPR. But I don't see him having quite as good of a day in this one. DeAndre Hopkins, he's still going to be a start. He's a must start every week. Tamper your expectations, as James Bradbury has been very good in coverage this year, especially against top wide receivers. Christian Kirk, Larry Fitzgerald, one of these two could have a good game, but I'm not confident in starting either of them. Fitzgerald's back from the COVID list now. Cardinals tight ends, you're going to sit them. Nobody really stands out of this pack. I know Dan Arnold did have 2 touchdowns last week, but he's not somebody you can trust. Cardinals defense, you could probably play them if you need to. Even with Daniel Jones back, that Giants offense isn't crazy. Then we got the Vikings and the Buccaneers. We got Kirk Cousins. I think you can start Kirk Cousins once again. I'm not really afraid of this Tampa matchup as much as some people are. Dalvin Cook's going to be a start. Just tamper your expectations. Tampa is very good against the running game. Then we got Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson. I think Jefferson's going to have the better game in this one, but I think you can start both these guys. Kyle Rudolph's out for this game, so he's going to be a sit. Irv Smith Jr. is back. He's been kind of banged up the last couple weeks. He's not somebody I really want to play this week, so I'm just going to leave him as a sit as well. Vikings defense is a sit. Then we got Tom Brady. I think you can start him. Should be a decent matchup for him. Ronald Jones, same way. Start him. Should be a pretty decent matchup for him. Solid running back 2. Leonard Fournette, I'm not really interested in this week unless you need like a desperate flex play in PPR. Otherwise, he's a sit. Mike Evans, he did return to practice in full yesterday. He's been dealing kind of with a hamstring injury as well. But I think you can start him. I think you can start Chris Godwin. You can probably start Antonio Brown if you need to, even. Tampa Bay defense, like I said, I don't think it's going to be the best game for them, so I'm going to sit them this week. Then we got the Panthers and the Broncos. Teddy Bridgewater is a sit for me. Obviously, he's going to be without some of his main weapons, and he really hasn't impressed me this year regardless. Christian McCaffrey dealing with that thigh and shoulder injury now. He's doubtful for this game. Pretty much a matter of time before he gets ruled out, so he's going to be a sit. Mike Davis, you can start. DJ Moore's on the COVID list, so he won't be playing, so he's obviously a sit. Robbie Anderson's a start. Should be a good one for him without DJ Moore. Curtis Samuel has returned from the COVID list. He cleared the protocol now, so he's going to be playing. I think he's somebody you can roll out there and start too if you need to. And then we got Ian Thomas. He's somebody that I was a little bit interested in like DFS. DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel didn't play, but now that Samuel's back, I'm not really interested in Thomas at all. Then Panthers defense, they're kind of streamable, but they're missing a couple pieces as well, so not anybody that I'm rushing to play. Then we got Drew Lock. He's going to be a sit. Melvin Gordon's going to be a start. Phillip Lindsay's a sit. Tim Patrick, my boy, he's actually my wide receiver start of the week, so I'm going to start him up. Should be a pretty good one for him against Carolina. Then we got Jerry Jeudy, and he's going to be a sit. Noah Fant, you can play in this one. Should be a pretty decent game for him as well. Kind of middle of the pack tight end. His problem is he's just not been scoring touchdowns, so we'll have to see if that changes this week. Broncos defense, I kind of like them a little bit as a streamer this week as well. I'd probably play them ahead of the Panthers defense, but there's still probably 10 defenses that I would play ahead of them as well. Then we got the Titans and the Jaguars. Ryan Tannehill, he's a start. Jaguars defense is nothing special by any means. Derrick Henry's a must start as always. A.J. Brown, a little banged up in practice this week with his ankle injury. Returned to practice in full yesterday. He'll be good to go. You can start him. You can probably start Corey Davis once again as well. Kind of wide receiver 3 territory. Jonnu Smith returns from his knee injury. He's going to play in this game. He's not somebody I'm really trusting this week, even though it is a good matchup. I'm probably going to sit him this week. Just kind of give him a week to work things out. Titans defense, some people are talking about them as a streamer, but they've been awful all year, so I can't trust them, honestly, so I'm going to sit them. Mike Glennon, he's kind of a streamable quarterback if you're feeling really risky, but otherwise I'm going to sit him. If you're in a 2-quarterback league, Superflex league, it's a very good matchup for him. You could try playing him in DFS if you want to. Should be a cheap play there as well. Then we got James Robinson. He's going to be a start. And then all these wide receivers, one of them is going to have a good game. I have no idea who it's going to be at this point in time. You got DJ Chark, you got Laviska Shenault, you got Chris Conley, you got Colin Johnson. They've all played recently, and some of them have played well, some of them have not. DJ Chark's only had 2 games this year that he's really mattered, so I'm going to sit him. It could be a good game for him, but I don't know if I can trust him at this point in time. I've tried to trust him last week, and he only caught like 2 out of his 7 targets. He's actually my wide receiver sit of the week, and it's just because he's so volatile. Then we got Laviska Shenault. He's probably the safest wide receiver to play in this matchup, but he has been dealing with that injury, and he did return to practice in full, so it looks like he's going to play. Keelan Cole, he's kind of faded off here recently. Tyler Eifert's kind of the interesting one out of this group at tight end. It's a good matchup for him. Mike Glenn's been throwing to him a lot. He should be a low-end tight end 1 this week, high-end tight end 2 at worst. So he's pretty safe play, especially if you're playing in PPR leagues. Jaguars defense is obviously a sit. Then we got the Colts and the Raiders. Phillip Rivers is a streamable quarterback once again. Nyheim Hines, Jonathan Taylor, Jordan Wilkins. You can start Jonathan Taylor, especially if you're in standard league. He's been doing pretty well lately. Good matchup for him. Nyheim Hines could have a little bit of value in PPR leagues as well, but otherwise he's a sit. Wilkins is a sit. Pittman Jr., T.Y. Hilton, they're both kind of wide receiver 3 flex plays, or one of them should have a good game. Not sure who it's going to be. Last week it was T.Y. Hilton, and previous weeks it's been Michael Pittman Jr. So we'll see how that all shakes out, but you could probably start either one of them as a wide receiver 3 flex play option if you do not have anyone better. Colts tight ends, I'm going to be setting all of them. Colts defense, I think you can play in this one. You should be all right. Derek Carr, he's going to be sitting this one. Not the greatest matchup in the world. Josh Jacobs, he's questionable to play. He's been limited in practice the past 2 days. It's going to be probably like a game time decision whether or not he plays. If he plays, you can start him. If he doesn't, you can sit him. If he does play, just kind of tamper your expectations with that ankle injury. Devontae Booker, if Josh Jacobs does not play, he's a low-end running back too, and you can start him as such if you need to. Henry Ruggs, Nelson Aguilar. I'm not too excited about either of these guys. If I had to guess, I think Aguilar probably has the better game, but I'm not really looking to start either one of them. Darren Waller, you're obviously starting. Raiders defense, you're obviously sitting. Then we got the Jets and the Seahawks. And on the Jets side, we got Sam Darnold. He's obviously a sit, even if it is a good matchup. He'll be auditioning for other teams, essentially, since they're pretty much already picked Trevor Lawrence at this point in time. But that's a whole nother story. We got Frank Gore. He's questionable. He's kind of been all over the place in practice this week. Limited practice on Wednesday. Did not practice on Thursday. Then full practice yesterday. Still needs a clear concussion protocol. Looks like he's trending in that direction. So if he plays, you can probably start him in if you need a running back to plug in play. Then we got Ty Johnson below him. If Gore doesn't play, then Ty Johnson is a startable running back too. Then we got Brashard Perriman. He's actually a very good start at wide receiver this week. If you look at all their other wide receivers, we don't even know if they're going to play. Denzel Mims is going to be out. He's dealing with some family and personal issues back home, I believe, in Texas. So he's not going to be around for this game. Jamison Crowder dealing with a calf injury. He's questionable to play in this game. No real direction whether or not he's going to play, but if he misses, Perriman definitely could see a lot of targets. Chris Herndon, he's going to be a sit. Jets defense is a sit as well. On the Seahawks side, we got Russell Wilson. Start him up. This Jets defense is very bad. Chris Carson, you can start him as well. Carlos Hyde's going to be a sit. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, they're both starts. Will Disley, Jacob Hollister. While the matchup is pretty good, I'm going to be sitting both of them. Seahawks defense is a very streamable defense this week against this Jets offense. Then we got the Eagles and the Saints, and we got my boy Jalen Hurts starting for the Eagles. He's going to be a set for me this week. He's a high-end quarterback 2, maybe a low-end quarterback 1. He's definitely got that rushing upside, but this is a tough matchup to start him in. If you're in a 2-quarterback league, you'd start him for sure, though. I'm doing it myself in a 2-quarterback league. I actually picked up Jalen Hurts in pretty much every single league I'm in. That rushing upside is just so valuable in fantasy football, and you cannot deny that he has that. So if he's able to do well in this matchup, he's definitely a guy you could look at starting in future weeks. Miles Sanders, Doug Peterson is like what I have to say about Miles Sanders. Like, Miles Sanders is probably their best weapon on offense, and Doug Peterson gives them 10 carries last week. And that's the end of the story, honestly, because Miles Sanders is a good running back. It sucks. If you need to play him, you can, but the Saints have a very good run defense, so I'm going to be sitting him unless I have to play him. Alshon Jeffrey's a sit. Jalen Reagor, Travis Fulgham, they're all kind of sits until we really figure out who Jalen Hurts likes to throw to. Like I talked about in my DFS video, I think Greg Ward Jr. could have a sneaky good week kind of playing that slot role. Jalen Hurts seemed to have good chemistry with him in the short time he was in the game last week. Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz. I'm not really interested in starting either one of these this week. I kind of want to see who stands out in that tight end pack. Obviously, last week was Zach Ertz's first game back coming off of his injury. So it'll just be interesting to see how this situation shakes out, who Jalen Hurts likes to throw the ball to. Eagles defense, it's going to be a sit. I think they could have some success against Taysom Hill, but it's a little risky at this point in time. Taysom Hill, I know everybody's hyping up Taysom Hill. They're on the Taysom Hill hype train, but he's a sit for me this week. I think there's a lot better streaming options than him. He does have that rushing upside, which is really hard to deny. But he has been a little bit turnover prone. I think he gets into a couple bad decisions and makes some turnovers in this game as well. Alvin Kamara is obviously a start. Latavius Murray's kind of seen his role go away, so he's going to be a sit. Michael Thomas is obviously a start. Emmanuel Sanders is a sit. Jared Cook barely playing at all. I know he got that touchdown last week, but he is definitely a sit. Saints defense, you can start. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is a rookie quarterback, and he could make mistakes. Should be a little bit of opportunity for turnovers there, even though I think Hurts is better than Carson Wentz is at this point in time. Then we got the Lions and the Packers. Matthew Stafford, he's actually my start of the week. I think he's going to have to throw the ball early and often in this one, and should be a good game for him. Should definitely be a quarterback one this week. DeAndre Swift, he's trending in the right direction towards playing. Hopefully we get more of an announcement coming out later today. By the time you guys watch this video, that announcement might already be out. And then we got Adrian Peterson. If DeAndre Swift does not play for whatever reason, Adrian Peterson would be a startable asset as like a running back 2. Kerryon Johnson, he's a little banged up with his knee injury, but he should be playing. And he's pretty much somebody that you don't want to touch at this point in time. Kenny Galladay's not playing once again with his hip issue. He's going to be a sit. Marvin Jones, I think you can start in this one, kind of wide receiver 3, flex play territory if you need to. Danny Amendola, he's going to be a sit for me. TJ Hawkinson, he is a start in this matchup. If I remember correctly, he had a pretty good game against the Packers the first time they played. Lions defense is obviously a sit. The Packers is pretty easy. It's pretty much what we've been talking about so far most of the year. Aaron Rodgers is a start. Aaron Jones is a start. Devontae Adams is a must start. MVS and Alan Lazard is obviously a good matchup for them, but you don't know which one's going to get the volume. MVS has been playing more, but Lazard's been seeing more targets. So kind of pick your poison there, but I'm not looking forward to starting any of them, so they're both sits for me. Robert Tonyan, the tight end, I think you can start this week. Should be a pretty good matchup against the Lions. Packers defense, some people have been talking about them, but I think they're a sit. I think Stafford's going to come out slinging the rock. Then we got the Chargers and the Falcons. Justin Herbert, he's a start. He's a little bit risky after last week, but I think he's a guy that's going to come out and try to light a fire. Obviously, a lot of people have talked about how the Falcons' defense isn't as good, but they have played better in recent weeks. Herbert's kind of like a low-end quarterback 1 for me once again. Then we got Kalen Ballage, Austin Eckler. I'll start Eckler. I'll sit Ballage. Then we got Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry. I think you can start Henry and Keenan Allen, sit Mike Williams. Pretty much the volume is all going to Keenan Allen, and then Henry's getting some looks as well. Falcons have been pretty bad against the tight ends. And then the Chargers defense is going to be a sit for me. Matt Ryan's a sit because Julio Jones is not playing. When Matt Ryan plays without Julio, he's not the same quarterback, especially in fantasy football. Todd Gurley looks like he's going to play. He's a borderline guy, honestly. He's like a running back 2, flex play type of guy. If you need to start him, you can. It's a very good matchup. If he can't take advantage of this matchup and against the Chargers, who've been awful against the run, if he doesn't perform in this game, you might as well cut him because he's pretty much useless at that point. But this is a game that he should be able to thrive in. Julio Jones is obviously a sit. Like I said, he's going to be out in this one. Calvin Ridley's a start. Russell Gage, he's kind of like a start, low-end wide receiver 3, flex play in PPR. If you need to play him, you can. If you don't, obviously just roll with someone else. Hayden Hurst, I think you can actually trust him this week. Should be a pretty good matchup for him. So he's a start. Falcons defense, to me, is a sneaky, streamable defense. If they can get after Justin Herbert like what happened last week, could be a good day for them. They've been creating turnovers a lot lately. So I think that continues this week. Then we got the Washington football team. We got Alex Smith. This is a revenge game for him, but I don't see him having a monster day, so he's going to be a sit for me. Antonio Gibson, he's going to be out in this one with his toe injury, so he's going to be a sit. J.D. McKissick, you can start, especially in PPR formats. Peyton Barber's out there, but Peyton Barber's not somebody you're excited about starting, especially against the 49ers defense. Then Terry McLaurin, you can start. Logan Thomas is going to be a sit for me this week. I know everybody's hyping him up after last week, but this is not the defense you want to play your tight end against. They are pretty much the best team against guarding the tight end. Washington defense, they're streamable defense. You can play them if you need to. Then we got Nick Mullins. I wouldn't touch Nick Mullins with a 10-foot pole unless I had to, or unless I'm in a 2-quarterback league. so he's going to be a sit for me. Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr. Could be a decent day for these guys. They're kind of both like low-end running back 2s flex plays for me if you need to. They've been pretty much splitting the load 50-50 since they both returned from injury. Deebo Samuel's been dealing with a foot issue, but he's going to play in this game. He's a sit if you need to, kind of low-end wide receiver 3, flex play type of option. I actually prefer Brandon Ayuk ahead of him, and it seems like the 49ers do as well. And he's the healthier option, so I would trust him a little bit more. We got Jordan Reed. I think you can start Jordan Reed as a streamable tight end this week if you need to. Obviously, if you have a better tight end, just roll with your better option. 49ers defense, they're kind of streamable this week. They kind of got throttled by Buffalo too, so I'm a little hesitant to start them, but if you need to, I understand it. Bills and the Steelers, Josh Allen, he's going to be a start. Steelers defense is very banged up this week, and Josh Allen has been playing very well. Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, I'm not going to start either one of these guys. They're both sits for me. Singletary got more run last week after Moss fumbled. See if that shakes out. See if it goes back to 50-50 a little bit more going forward. Stephon Diggs, I love this week. Honestly, if you could pick a wide receiver that you had to play, it'd be Stephon Diggs. Joe Hayden's out with a concussion, so it's going to be a good day for him. John Brown's going to be a sit. He's still on IR. Cole Beasley, I would start this week. I honestly like Cole Beasley in this matchup. Gabriel Davis, if you're desperate to play a wide receiver, you could play him. Otherwise, you're going to sit him. Dawson Knox, he's going to be a sit for me. Bills defense is also a sit. Ben Roethlisberger, I think you can start him this week. Should be a pretty good matchup. Bills defense has been very hit or miss this year. James Conner, solid running back 2 start. Juju Smith-Schuster, I think you would start him and Deontay Johnson. I'm going to sit Chase Claypool. He's been losing snaps recently, so kind of hard to trust him at this point in time. Eric Ebron, I think you can start. Should do pretty well against this Buffalo defense. Steelers defense is a sit for me this week. They're just too banged up right now. Then we got the Browns and the Ravens. Baker Mayfield, he's going to be a sit for me. He has not performed well against the better teams in his own division. So I know last week he played good against Tennessee, but there's a big difference between Tennessee's defense and the Ravens' defense. We got Kareem Hunt, and he's going to be a sit for me. He's actually my sit of the week. He honestly hasn't done too much recently, so I'm not going to lean on him. He could have some value later on in the game, so if you need to start him as like a flex play, you can definitely do that. Then we got Nick Chubb. He's going to be a start. Jarvis Landry's a start. Rashard Higgins, Donovan Peoples-Jones, they had good games last week, but they're both sits for me. The one thing I will say with Jarvis Landry, though, is if he's covered by Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey is one of the few cornerbacks that has not given up a touchdown this year, so just keep that in mind. Austin Hooper, he's going to be a sit. Honestly, just keep in mind with him, too, he did not practice on Friday, so if he doesn't go, then maybe you could roll with Harrison Bryant if you need to, but it's still a risky play at that. Lamar Jackson, obviously he's back in this game. That question mark shouldn't even be there anymore, but Lamar Jackson is going to be a start for me this week. I think he's a decent quarterback 1. Then we got Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, Justice Hill, Gus Edwards. J.K. Dobbins, I think you can start as a running back 2. Mark Ingram, I don't know why they're still giving him the ball. He's going to be a sit. Justice Hill is a sit. Gus Edwards, you could probably play as a flex play if you need to, but not somebody I want to rely on at this point in time. Marquise Brown's going to be a sit. Mark Andrews returns this week from COVID. He's going to be a start. Should be a pretty good matchup for him. Ravens defense is also a start. But with that being said, these are the starts and sits for the Week 14 matchups, all 15 remaining games that we do have. If you guys have any more start sits, questions in general, please be sure to leave them down in the comments. If you have any other questions regarding fantasy football at all, or football in general, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's in the comments, at my email, CoachCraigSports@gmail.com, on Twitter at CoachCraigSport, or on the Coach Craig Sports Facebook page. If you guys liked and enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Lets me know that you really appreciate the starts and sits that I do every week. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. It helps build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports. And that's one for you, the viewers, helping you guys with your fantasy football teams, helping you be more successful and enjoy fantasy football more, helping you guys get some wins. I know we're in playoff time, so we're going to get some of them playoff wins. We're going to get some championships together, and it's going to be a great season for us. I know 2020 has been quite the year, especially in football in terms of injuries and COVID, but hey, we're making the best out of it. Then, with that being said, if you're a new or current subscriber who's yet to do so, also hit that notification bell down below. Like I've been saying, post up about 5 videos a week, Monday through Thursday, and then on Saturday for the starts and sits. Starts and sits might go back to Friday next week. I believe there are some Saturday games next week as well. But with that being said, that's all I got for today's video. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day.